Jeff from Two Hacks Garage. Well, guess what, guys? Project Fast Time's 388 cubic inch small block Chevy stroker is complete. As you saw in the last video, we ran it for 20 minutes, broke in that cam, made sure everything was fine. Jimmy and I spent this afternoon giving it a once over, make sure everything was good. All is good. This video is actually going to be pretty brief. I just wanted to go over the parts that were used on this. I know we discussed it in every video, what we were using, but this is just kind of a recap of the actual build process. Normally I never have notes, but there's a lot that I want to talk about and I don't want to miss anything, so I did actually make myself some notes on this. Real quick, this did start off as a 350 Chevy block with 4-bolt mains on it, and it was already 30 thousandths over when we got it. So this thing was bored over by Jimmy and I, another 30 thousandths to make it a 4060 bore. We precision honed it with Sun and Stones, and the actual boring machine we used was a Van Norman 777S. Learned a lot with that. It was a whole lot of fun. So with that, guys, the crank in this thing is part of an Eagle rotating assembly. It actually is a 3 3/4 inch stroke crank. So with the 3 3/4 inch stroke crank and the 4060 bore, this thing comes out to 388.39 cubic inches. So 388 cubic inches. This is just 30 thousandths more than the common small block Chevy 350 base 383 stroker. We did a lot of different measuring on this, but I do want to get into kind of the parts being used on this. So it was a complete rotating assembly that was purchased through Summit Racing, and it was an Eagle Summit kit. It had Keith Black Hypertectic aluminum flat top 2-valve pistons, Eagle SIR rods. They were 5140 forged, and they used ARP hardware on that. It did come with a Pioneer flex plate. It did come with the harmonic balancer on the front, and the crank itself is cast. The kit literally came with everything. Bearings, you name it, rings, it was all ready to go. Like I said, that did come from Summit Racing. So the next big thing on this that we did was, to make some of the more power with this, was the Brodix i2K100 heads, 64cc chambers, 200cc intake runner, 202 160 stainless valves in this. It does have comp pushrod guides in it, Scorpion 1.50 ratio rockers, and Howard's push rods were used in this. So that was the cylinder head combination with that. The pistons fit or sit down 18 thousandths in the hole in this, and with compressed gasket thickness, the compression ratio on this is approximately 10.5 to 1. So it's not going to use any of that 87 octane, but you know what, you could probably tune it for 91, but we're going to be running 93 octane in this, so it has the good stuff in it. The camshaft is a hydraulic flat tappet cam. It did come from Isky. Had a really awesome fun time learning how to do all the little things with that using the Clay Smith cam degree wheel kit. But this is their Isky 280H Mega. Its operating usage on it is 2,500 to 6,800 RPM. That's where it makes its most power. Advertised duration was 280 and was 485 lift with a 108 degree lobe separation angle. To help complement the rotating assembly with the cylinder heads, the compression, the flow these things make, and the camshaft. So all that is kind of its own package there, likes to rev. These heads like to flow at a higher RPM and all that. The intake and carb used for this is a HOLLEY single plane and a quick fuel HR 750 double pumper carburetor. The operating RPM range on this intake is advertised at 2,500 to 7,500 RPM. So you can tell this thing is making a lot of mid to high RPM horsepower. Probably doesn't have a whole lot down low, but as far as mid to high, this thing's going to like to rev, it's going to like to scream, it's going to like to pull really, really, really hard. This engine was designed for that. It wasn't designed for a whole lot of low-end torque. From there, some of the other parts were used in this. A Mellings high-pressure oil pump with a Mellings rod and the ARP fastener with that. And in fact, guys, this whole entire engine, when it comes to the main bolts, rod bolts, everything in here, we used ARP fasteners inside and out. The only areas we didn't use anything ARP hardware, ended up having to change the valve cover ones because they were too short. We used stainless on that. And the timing cover, we used the factory HOLLEY ones that came with it. Other than that, guys, everything with this engine, hardware-wise, is ARP. It did get Fel-Pro gaskets, Clevite and King bearings. It is a Holley fuel pump, mechanical on that. It's 85 gallon per hour, and it's rated up to 7 PSI regulated, and it did use a stock fuel rod. The ignition to help make all of this fire is an MSD Street Fire ignition with XL wires and Champion plugs. We just use those Champion plugs for the initial break-in. I like Autolite. However, local auto parts stores and even online didn't actually have what I wanted. I got those on the way, so it'll probably get Autolite, but looking at the way headers fit on this, I might have to run like an Excel shorty header plug on this. Not quite sure on that. Down low here, we had talked about the oil pump. Well, this is a Summit 6-quart pan and pickup. It does have a built-in windage screen, a trapdoor baffle, and a crankshaft scraper. And we did use the specialty custom pickup that came with that on that. That was all covered in all these builds. It's got an Edelbrock True Roller timing chain on it, a Holley cast timing cover, and a Comp Cams cam lock. All freeze plugs are the brass Mellings freeze plugs on this. That was a whole kit. VHT paint, including primer, paint, and clear. It's got a factory long style water pump on it made by AC Delco, and factory small block Chevy crank pulley and water pump pulley, also using ARP fasteners on that. These cast valve covers are really nice. They're made by Proform. Actually really does complement this engine quite well. Plastic gauge was used to check all the clearances on that. So, you know, when you're building an engine, you always want to make sure everything is checked correctly on that. And I'm just going through some notes on here to see where I had the numbers on that. But if I recall right, yeah, here we go. Mains and rods were 15 thousandths. Rod side clearance was 20 thousandths. The piston sat approximately 18 thousandths in the hole, and piston to wall clearance was at 3 thousandths. Other things went into this here. Clevite and driven assembly lubrications, all that. Of course, running a Wix filter. It does have a PowerMaster starter on it. Permatex sealants were used also. Oil passages, by the way, were opened up and massaged on this. That's why we're using the high pressure Mellings oil pump. Clay Smith Degree Cam Kit was one of the specialty tools we used on this. It was really, really awesome, easy to use. They actually have a really good tutorial video on their website. We used that. It was really great. Some of the other specialty tools we did was made by Proform. That was like a dial indicator, the deck bridge to see how far the pistons were in the hole and so on. Other than that, other than a torque wrench, it was basic common hand tools used for this. Like I said, it was all done in-house here. The nice part about this is we actually didn't have to port match anything with the intake to the heads, to the gaskets. Everything looked really good. So that was really quality with that also. So yeah, that's pretty much the parts that we used in this. Do I call it a basic build? Not really. It was actually a pretty in-depth build, and we did use, as you saw with this last parts list, everything with it was very high quality and very, good brand names. Obviously little things like air breathers, water neck, and a whole bunch of other stuff like that I did purchase from Amazon or through Summit, or in some cases had it laying around. But I do want to give some shout outs on this. Holley was really key with this build. The parts that I like to use, a lot of it did come from Holley. Intake, carburetor, ignition, and a whole bunch of other stuff did come from Holley, and they had it readily available and at my door very quick. Speaking of having stuff at your door very quick, competition products. There was things I needed at the last minute, like valve springs, shims, retainers, push rods, and I called a friend of mine, Luke, that works for Howard's Competition Products, and in most cases, when I placed an order, less than 24 hours, it was at my doorstep. So that was just amazing customer service. Summit Racing, same way. Everything I ordered, they had in stock, got it shipped to me, and that was, just a matter of a couple days for that. I did give a shout out to Clay Smith Cams on this for their degree wheel kit. Worked very well. Like I said, they have an online tutorial with that, which worked very well. This thing will be ran on a very good oil. We broke it in on driven oil. We use that in all of our all of our engine builds that we do. So moving forward, driven racing oil, very, very, very high quality. Unfortunately, you can't find it in stores, but you do find it on Amazon, Summit, Jags everywhere, they have it. So it's going to get their Hot Rod 10W40 motor oil. So that's pretty much all the parts that we used in this. I'm very happy with the way it's turning out, and I really can't wait to get it into that 1980 Camaro that we're calling Project Fast Times. My friend Todd has done a lot of cleanup work on it. My friend Eddie, he painted it. Kyle's had a hand in doing a whole bunch of other work. Right now the transmission is at a friend of mine's getting built. It's actually a 700R4, so it's going to have overdrive with it, and we're just trying to find the right converter for it at this time. And it's getting all the goodies in there. It's going to get the good solid servo, the good rebuild kit, a shift kit, and all that. Then it's get it in there, fine tune it, and get rolling. Future plans with it. And mind you guys, we are going to show all of that, but it's going to be a lot of tuning on it. Spring's coming up, and actually spring was just a couple days ago actually, but spring's coming up where it's going to be nice. We want to hit the streets and have a whole lot of fun. So for right now, this is the last that you're going to see of Project Fast Times 388 cubic inch small block build. I hope you guys enjoyed the whole series. It's in the playlist. Every little detail that we've done on this engine is actually in there if you want to go back and take a look at it. And with that, guys, I tell you what, there's going to be a whole lot more engine building stuff coming up. I'm going to be back on the Thunderbird. We got more LS stuff coming up with Mike and Micah. And who knows? Maybe I'll actually get a Mopar thrown in here one of these days. So with that, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Later.